Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Excel with Richard. I'm Richard, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to use Power Pivot to make pivot tables when we have data in different files. So let's just get into it. We've all done pivot tables in the past where we have a table or range of data, and we use that table or range of data to build a pivot table that summarizes much of the information. And the power of the pivot table is that we're able to pick and choose what we want to look at from that table at any given point in time. What happens, however, when we have a situation where we've got data in different tables on different worksheets, perhaps even in different workbooks, and we want to take a piece of information from one table and maybe a piece of information from a table that's in another workbook, and we want to put those together into a new pivot table? Well, that's what Power Pivot does for us. It allows us to combine information from different sources to create a new pivot table that we might not otherwise be able to create. So to start, we're first going to look at the information that we have available to us. Now, these files are available for download so that you can follow along and do this yourself. So we've got two files here. The first one we have is GPT Sales Employees. The next thing we have is GPT Stores. Now, I just called it that because I used ChatGPT to create the files. But let's take a look at the first one, the Sales Employees file. This particular file has got information about sales for a period of time. It also has a separate worksheet. So we have sales here, and these sales go on for, I'm not even sure how far this file goes. This file is 13,000 lines long of data. Now, in addition, this has a separate worksheet that tells me my employees. And these are the employees that we have in the company. And it tells me their first name, their last name, their employee number, and the store number. Now, the sales, going back to the sales worksheet, we have transaction date, units sold, sales price, total sales, and employee number. Now, I also have another file. Let's go look at that file. That file is called GPT Stores. And when I open that up, what I have in this file is I've got the store number, the region that the store is in, and the state that the store is in. So this is different information. Now, if I wanted to go back to my first file and do a Power Pivot or a pivot table with sales by state, I could not do that because state is not in that table. However, state is in this table. Can I connect these? Well, that's what Power Pivot is going to do for us. The first thing we have to do is make sure that all of our data is in a table, and then we know what those table names are. So this data, if I click anywhere in the table, go to Table Design, I can see this data is in a table, and it's called Table Stores. Now remember that. That's going to be important down the road. So let's close this file, and we'll go look at the other file. First of all, we see that the sales worksheet in this particular file is not in a table. So the first thing I want to do is put it in a table. I will click anywhere in it. I'll do Insert. I'll do Table. And I will say, yes, it does have headers. So we'll click on that and it'll create a table. Now what I'm also going to do is go up here and rename this table up here in the upper left. I'm going to call this table_sales. This is going to be important to me as we move forward. Now, the next table we have is employees, the next worksheet, and certainly that one is in a table, and the name of that table is Table Employees. So I'm good. I can start my Power Pivot. Now, I've only showed you another video on how to actually install Power Pivot. If you don't see Power Pivot up here on your main menu line, your main ribbon up on the top, that means you have not installed it yet. So you'll want to go watch that video, which I will link below so you can go see how to install Power Pivot into your Excel. So we'll click on Power Pivot. First, I want to click anywhere in this table. Then I will go click on Power Pivot. Now this is our Power Pivot menu here, and what we want to go to is Add to Data Model. So we're going to build a data model that shows all of our different tables and how they're linked together. So we'll click on Data Model, and it's going to open up a new screen for us. And here it is. This is our Power Pivot interface. Now it's opened up this particular file in this interface. Now, I could go alter some of this. For instance, I'm going to take the time out of each of these dates, but I'm not going to do that at this point. But the Power Pivot interface does allow you to do some limited data editing. But what I'm going to do next is I am going to shrink this down just a little bit. Actually, I'm just going to move it over just a little bit. And what we see is I'm going to go and open the other tab or the other worksheet that's in this particular file. And I can add the employee's information to this data model. I just click anywhere in the table. I'm going to click on Add to Data Model, and it is going to add this. So now if you look at my Power Pivot interface, you can see I've got down here, I've got table sales, and I've got table employees, and those are both there. I do not have stores yet. I have to go get that. So let me show you how to get the information from another file. So we're going to go back up to the top here, and we're going to go from other sources. We're going to click on from other sources. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of that window to Excel file. So I'll click on that. I'll hit next. Now it's going to ask me what file I want to open. So I'm going to go to Browse, and I'm going to find this. It's going to be on my desktop, so I've got to go find my desktop here. There it is. And I'm going to look for the file that says GPT stores, and there it is right here. You can see that file. I'm going to click on it and hit open. Now I want to say that I'm going to use the first row as column headers, and now I just hit next. It's going to open up a new interface, and it's going to show me each of the columns, but it's also going to show me the table. Now I know that that table is named stores, and here it is right here, so I'm going to click on that as the table that I want. I don't want to click on the other 3 rows because that's going to mess me up. I don't want to add that. I want to add the whole table to my existing data model. So now I'll just hit finish, and it's going to tell me that it added 26 rows of data, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So now I'll hit close. And when I go look back at my interface here, my model, I can see I've got table sales, I've got table employers, and I've got stores now. Now it doesn't say table stores, which is kind of interesting. It just says stores. Next thing I'm going to do is I want to link these 3 items together. So I'm going to do that by going over to Diagram View up on the top row here under File. I'm going to go all the way over to the right to Diagram View. Now it's going to show me the 3 files that I've got available to me. Now right now I could not make a pivot table using information from table sales and from stores. I can only make a pivot table using the information in the table sales. I can also make a pivot table from the table says table employees, but I could not put those together and put information in there. I'm going to create a link between each of these. Now this is where it's important that if you're going to be linking your files, you need to have some common columns, some columns that match between the two so that we can link. In this case, between table sales and table employees, we do have a column that is the same. It is employee number. So what I can do is I can simply click and hold on employee number. I'm going to drag over, and it's going to create a line. I'm going to drag over and link it to, or actually touch, employee number under the table employees file. And it's going to create for me a link. So this is a one-to-many link. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to link the table employees to stores. I'm going to use that using store number. So I'm going to click on store number, and I'm going to go over and click on store number here. Just drag it over there. It creates a line, and now I've got a second link. Those are now linked together. Once they're linked together, I can create a pivot table. So let's say we want to do one that shows sales, total sales by state. Okay, I can do that now. I'm going to go click on Pivot Table, which is up here on the upper ribbon, right about in the middle. I click on Pivot Table. Now, what it's going to do for me is I'm going to put it on a new worksheet, and I'm going to enable content, and it's going to show me over here on the far right under Pivot Fields. It's going to show me each of my 3 files. I've got stores, employees, and sales, and I can pull from any one of these to create my pivot table. So let's just open this so we can see all the data that's available to us. And we want to, just like we would do in a normal pivot table, we're going to take total sales, we're going to drag it down to values, I'm going to go up to stores, and I'm going to drag state down to rows, and it's going to give me a pivot table with sales by state. Now I can also add a new pivot chart to this. If I go up to the top and click on Pivot Table Analyze, I can now click on Pivot Chart, which is over near the right. I'll click on that, and it's going to create a chart for me, and I'm going to click on that, say OK, and I now have a pivot chart that shows me sales by state. Now, what if I want sales by region? I can do that as well. I'm simply going to get rid of state, and I'm going to add back region. And now I've got sales by region. I can right click, of course, and add my data labels, and I can see exactly what's going on with each of these. So it's a really powerful tool to be able to link the items from different tables together so that you can get a pivot table that you otherwise would not be able to achieve. Hopefully this was helpful. Come back real soon to Excel with Richard.